Alrighty, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Designer's Den. I am super thrilled this week to have on Gwen Bassett. Bassett. I don't know.
Bassett.
Pronunciation
Like
on things. Yeah, pronunciation on things this week has been not my strong point. I've been learning a lot of new Ukrainian words. so, but all that aside, very excited to have Gwen on today, and we are going to talk about the just released Uncaged Goddesses book, which is the epic finale in the Uncaged anthology, in more ways than one. So super excited to have you on, Gwen. Thank you so much for being on. If you don't mind, though, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit better than I did to our viewers? Maybe a little bit about, what you do in gaming, how you get started. I don't know, whatever you feel is appropriate.
So I'm Gwen Bassett. I'm one of the co-project leads for Uncaged Goddesses, along with David Markuski and the wonderful rest of the admin team, Jess Markram and Laura Evans. We helped put together, with Ashley Warren's blessing and oversight, Volume 5 of Uncaged Goddesses, which I will get more into later. But I otherwise, outside of project managing all that, am a freelance fantasy illustrator. So I do an awful lot of illustration. I did the cover for Goddesses. I did a lot of interior art for Goddesses. And I have illustrations in all of the other volumes of the Uncaged anthology, which is kind of how I got into this whole thing.
This whole thing. Yeah. You've been involved in every single book.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have at least one illustration in every single volume of the full Uncaged anthology. And this one I was like, my book, my rules. So now I have 5 illustrations in this one, if you count the covers.
And of course, you have to count the cover because, especially on this one, it's absolutely stunning. And from the minute it started getting promoted, people were just like, I need to know what this is.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's, I mean, just like, obviously, like the whole thing together and then like the contrast and like the halo. It's just, chef's
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. The original volumes, like volumes 1 through 4, were done by a different artist, but they all had that inspiration from like fashion photography.
Yes.
Which I thought was really cool and interesting. Like, definitely very graphic, different from like the rest of the DM's Guild covers. So that's something I wanted to make sure stayed consistent for Goddesses. So I had a lot of fun looking up fashion photography inspiration for this and making it kind of look like a magazine cover. Also, way easier to paint than a whole ass dragon. So win-win all around.
Can't even imagine doing either of those things. Actual like drawing art, that's the thing I'm gonna leave to literally anyone else. All right, yes, lots of people there in chat. Hello, everyone. But yeah, so you've been doing all of that and everything in Uncaged Goddesses. So for anyone who is not familiar with the series, you did mention that it got started with Ashley Warren. But what exactly is the Uncaged series about?
Yeah. So Uncaged started with Ashley Warren. She wanted to create an adventure anthology of one-shot adventures focusing on kind of the classic monsters from the monster manual, from folklore and stuff, and taking the like femme-coded monsters and having feminist reimaginings of their stories. Volumes 1 through 4 were a lot about like kind of folklore, very classic monsters from the monster manual. They're called Medusas, even though they should be called Gorgons, because Medusa is a person's name. Your harpies. Oh boy, do we have harpies in those books. That sort of thing. Because there's a lot of lore around them that is, shall we say, could be better. Some may even go so far as to say sexist.
Definitely a little misogynistic.
Yeah. If your whole premise for like a monster is that it's like, a woman, but she's really just like shrill all the time, awful, the worst to hear, like, cool, love that for us. So those volumes focused a lot more on the monsters and like brought in a ton of folklore stories and just had a lot of fun exploring, kind of fleshing out those monsters, those people in those folktales, and making them more interesting and more thought out without like necessarily changing that they were the monsters.
Taking away some of the horrible tropes.
Just making them less tropey, more interesting.
I like to imagine it as kind of, I mean, obviously Disney things, but how what Disney did with Maleficent, like
Hmm.
taking it just from her like being this, two-dimensional character who comes in and curses the baby and then steals the baby,
Hmm.
when she's 18. Into someone who like there's like a whole reason why she does all of this. Like
Hmm.
people were horrible to her, and she's not, specifically just trying to steal your child
Yeah.
because she's an evil witch. Oh no. There's just like
Yeah.
a lot to her. There's so many layers to it. And you begin to understand, you're just like, I don't know. Some people even end up kind of sympathizing with her from that. I don't know that I entirely do, but
Yeah, that's fair. Uh,
but, I
yeah.
could I could see a
Uh,
lot more behind it. And I
yeah.
really enjoyed that that's exactly kind of what's happened with a lot of these.
Definitely. And for goddesses specifically, we'd been doing a lot of stuff with the monsters from the monster manual, and Ashley had noticed that our dear friend Umberly, the evil goddess of oceans, let's say, has some interesting titles in the Forgotten Realms wiki. I don't know if you've looked at that recently, but one of her titles is the Sea Bitch,
Yes.
canonically her actual name. Um, so
Yes.
Ashley saw that and just went, hmm, don't love that.
Yep.
And kind of floated the idea in like 2019 or something, like, hey, what if we made another volume, but it was the goddesses? Because there's this thing that kind of bothers me. Um,
About
and then she got busy with like,
how so many of them are portrayed. They're meant to be
there's so many,
powerful, but like
there's so many goddesses who have the word bitch in their title, and like, cool, love that. There's the sea bitch Umberly, who I think is also the bitch queen of the sea. She gets
yes.
two because she's extra bitchy. There's Lolth is the spider bitch. There are several others that have bitch in their title. There's a couple that have whore, so that's fun, mixing it up a little bit. Um, and it's just what I like about goddesses is that it takes all of the neutral and evil goddesses of the Forgotten Realms plus some other realms beyond. I think is or beyond Faerun is that section of the book,
Mm-hmm.
and fleshes them out, makes them more like compelling as people without taking away the fact that they are evil. And they're doing evil acts and they're making the world kind of worse, at least from humanity's perspective. But like humanity's perspective isn't theirs, even a little bit, because they're gods. Um, and that was really interesting to play around with and just like have that level of like, what can we do to these creatures that are fundamentally evil without taking away that they're evil, but still making them like more holistic of a being and worth exploring beyond just a lot of the lore for various goddesses? We're like, you like a boy that I like. Now I'm mad and now I'll be evil. And like, that sucks. Come on, it's 2022. We can do better.
Oh man, and we don't and that really upsets me too because I'd like to let you know who did horrible things in the name of like someone that he loved and is generally widely considered to be a good guy is our boy Lathander, okay? And nobody calls him any derogatory slurs.
Yeah, where's his bitch title?
God, he is.
What would he be, like the sun bitch? I don't know. I have
Exactly.
a Yeah, I have a
Exactly.
very specific subset of Forgotten Realms lore knowledge now. I really only know these 21 goddesses, but I know them very well.
I refer to him as Lathander the bro, the day
Mm,
bro.
I can see that.
Oh god.
Uh, Big Apollo energy.
Yes, big Apollo energy. All right, so there are 21 goddesses in here. And for people who don't just all of a sudden remember who the neutral and evil goddesses are, we have at least two from each of the domains.
Yeah, so the domains are actually an interesting thing to talk about. Part of the reason that I led, like, I'm not to toot my own horn, and the reason this book happened, in that Ashley was like, I don't have time to do this, and I was like, I'll do it, and then obviously immediately brought on more people who are more qualified to finish the book than I am. But something I was noticing, like kind of putting together a potential goddess list for the pitches to help organize them, was that every single goddess except for one on like the D&D Beyond list of goddesses had either a life related thing or a nature related thing or a trickery related thing as
Mm-hmm.
one of their domains. That's it. That's all the women had. The only one that didn't have any of those was Mistra, who's Arcana only because she's like the goddess of magic. But the fact that every other goddess was one of those three things was so reductive and frustrating. So for this book specifically, the other anthology volumes were broken out by tier in gameplay, because that makes sense, just like
Yes,
organizationally.
right.
Can't do that for this book because it's all tier 4. The level band is 17 to 20. Doesn't really matter what order they're in. Tier 4 play is
Tier 4 play.
well, yeah, it's once you're in tier 4, you're in tier 4, and the exact level doesn't really matter. But we decided it would be fun to divide them up by level, or not by level, what domain? Because that way, like, they're kind of grouped thematically.
Mhm.
So the domains we end up having in the book are Tempest, Death, War, Arcana, Life, Trickery, and then we have a bucket for the Eberron, the Barovia, Ravenloft. I do that every time, and Theros adventures
Yes.
as a separate thing because they're evil goddesses beyond Faerun. Um,
And I
but
really love Farika from Theros. We've got a little adventure trilogy, and one of them has her
she's
in it. And yes,
she's so good.
so
And Anthony did such a good job with her adventure. It's definitely like kind of peak Uncaged, where like you understand so much what's going on with the villain monster goddess in this case, uh kind of so well, and you're just like, no, I understand exactly how you got here, and I don't know how to make you stop, but I need to make you stop. And
Mhm.
it's really, really good.
Yes.
um
All right, so I think a good idea too. Something else to we should probably run through are who exactly are these goddesses? Just like a brief summary of each of them.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe with your favorite title that each of them has, if you could just recall it.
Ooh, I
Ooh.
do not know all of their titles off the top of my head.
If you don't remember it, it's obviously not that great.
Yeah, wow. That's fair. Yeah, so the goddesses, there are 21 of them, so I'll try to keep this short. Auril, I'm looking at my table of contents to help me right now. Uh,
Yes.
Auril is the Frost Maiden. She is the goddess of like she's Tempest, because we're in the Tempest domain, but specifically like winter storms. So she's the Rime of the Frost Maiden, like main antagonist. Understandably, people weren't necessarily thrilled with Rime of the Frost Maiden going only up to level 12, given that you fight a goddess at the end of it, and she should be a little harder to take than a level 12 adventuring party. So
I mean, that wasn't the only problem we have with
that is true.
Oral. It's
Yeah.
the the maiden mother crone
Yeah.
whole thing.
Punch her until she's reduced to her core component, a womb. Neat. So yeah, Lori did a really good job kind of making sure that the Auril adventure could be like tied back into a Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, should you choose to do that. But otherwise, it works as a standalone adventure great. Auril's whole shtick is that she wants everything to be winter. I need to do the rest of them faster. So moving on, Umberly is the sea bitch, and she wants everything to be ocean. And she's what canonically, I think, just kind of one of like the cattiest, I guess, goddesses.
He really is. Like
Yeah.
everything that she's just like snark master or
Yeah, so
mistress.
that's fun. She's the only one who has earned 2 different titles that both have the word bitch in them. So that's her credential. Um, Death Domain. Uh, I have a lot of biases in this one, but Blibdol Pulp is a
Yes.
fantastic deity. Oh my god. She is the Kuatoa goddess. She's great. She's just like a lobster head and then just a straight up naked woman.
And I love
Buck wild character design.
my favorite. This is probably one of my favorite titles. She's known as the Whip of Whips.
Ooh, that is a good one. Yeah. Yeah, so she understandably had to adjust her design a little bit, so that we could
Because
like publish it on
it's
DM's Guild.
in the original, which is what you the original art is what you get from 80. If you pull up
Mhm.
the wiki, it's just titties with nipples, very obvious nipples.
It's literally a lobster head on a fully nude human woman.
What? Oh,
And with claws.
claws.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, with lobster claws. And then some like strategic bubbles to cover the crotch area. But yeah, wild. But the Kuatoa are like a really, really cool race, and the way that they like manifest their gods is by like dreaming them into existence. So
Oh, so how
the
beholders make babies.
yeah, but Theo did a really good job with the Blibdol Pulp adventure, and honestly, shout out to Mina for the incredible Blibdol Pulp art in the book. We
Which
love to
is
see,
much nicer than
yes, we love to see a giant lobster woman living her best life. Uh, so it's great. The other ones in the death domain are Leviatar. who's a very fun one. Her art also in the wiki is just 0 out of 10, -30 out of 10. Hate it. I do not like skin hooks as a visual thing that I have to behold with my eyes. So warning, if you want to go look at the Leviatar art, there's that thing where it hooks into the skin and then pulls. Um, so but Leviatar is another goddess that is just like kind of really aggressively not misrepresented. She's reduced. She's the goddess of pain. Understandably, given that you have a lady goddess of pain, people tend to think of one specific thing, and it's very heavily sexualized.
Oh,
So
she's
Arnold did a really,
dominatrix, obviously.
obviously the goddess of dominatrices. Is that the plural?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like it should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, the adventure in this book is really, really good. Because it takes like it's a very role play heavy adventure. That really encourages tables to like kind of get vulnerable with each other in a way that I really like. That's an aside, because it's an adventure anthology, there's a ton of stuff in here for like kind of different tables and their tastes and stuff. So like it's 21 adventures. I guarantee there's some stuff in here that your table's gonna love. And some stuff that might not be right for your table. Yeah, and that's fine. So this is definitely like I think one of the more like kind of rewarding adventures if it's something for your table. They're gonna really, really like resonate with it, and it's gonna be one of those table experiences that sticks with them for like years. The next one on the death domain, Shar, my favorite. I have a whole spiel ready to go about her at all times. But suffice it to say, she was like she and her twin sister Saloon were created from like the primordial chaos after Ao created the universe.
Yes.
She and her sister created the everything else, all of the planets, literally like Toriel. All of that. They made all of that. Yeah, they made that. They made the goddess of life because they were like, maybe there should be some life on these. And then the goddess of life was like, it needs to be warmer for life. And Shar was like, fuck that. Can I swear on your show? I'm sorry. Cool. So Shar was just like, no, it's fine the way it is. And then Saloon was like, no, I want it to be different. And then they started fighting. And over the course of them like fighting about whether there should be life in existence or not, like as a byproduct of them fighting, they created the gods of like murder and death and war and magic and like
everything else.
Everything else by accident as a side effect of fighting. And instead, what she gets, she's so disrespected. Her art in the Forgotten Realms wiki looks like a level 14 Ragnarok Online rogue, and I'm mad about it. Also, there's like a quote from a hag that's like, Shar won't interfere with this. She's too busy like writing poetry about how much everyone likes her sister more than her, and like the disrespect. Anyway, that's Shar.
Oh,
good. Yeah, sorry, this is gonna be the whole hour.
No, this is perfect.
I'll go faster. Talona is the goddess of like the plague. Obviously, like kind of, you know, an interesting thing to write an adventure about in present times. But the adventure itself is really, really good and thoughtful. Honestly, I don't think it like you'd want to check with your tables, but like considering that she's literally like called the Plague Mother, not as current event focused as you would think.
Right.
So that's good. She also has the weirdest art. She's like depicted as both a shriveled old woman, but also with like a runway bottle body, but like too much. And then is like in these like drapey scarf things because this like old woman who is also a model has to look sexy. I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I see your face.
I'm just like looking at the current art versus her old one, and I'm like, hold on, let me break my wrist to do this pose.
Right? I gotta look fancy. Anyway,
you gotta do this with both hands, everybody.
God, yeah. Those are the ones in the death domain for us. I should say that the goddesses are like a lot of them have more than one domain, so some of them could have fit into like different ones. We tried to keep it pretty even throughout. So that's if you have a favorite death domain goddess, she might be somewhere else in here.
All right.
War domain, we got Lolth, who I feel is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
The drow goddess.
Definitely in charge of her armies. It's all about her military. So
perfect. She's in charge of the drow pantheon. And the Lolth adventure is a really interesting one. You get to go back in time and experience her life as Arashni from the Elven pantheon as she falls. It's really good. Yeah. So 10 out of 10 for all of them, but also that one. The other war domain goddess that we have is the Red Knight. Literally about war and tactics. Like her whole thing is that she's like a knight, and the kind of knight that you would associate with like chess.
Very
Very
strategic, tactical.
yeah, very strategic, very tactical. One of the only gods that, or one of the only goddesses that is not in some way related to nature or life or trickery, because bitches do be tricky. Am I right? Uh,
Yes.
the Arcana domain. um, we have Karansali, who's another drow goddess. She is a pretty fun one. She's very like undead focused, which is a lot of fun. And Jessie did a fantastic job on her adventure setting. You get to go to the city of Elegy, and it's really cool. The fact that it is like an undead goddess's undead city domain that you go to means there's a lot of fun stuff there for adventurers. So
I did
I
at
like that
least
one a
like
lot.
her art in her wiki though.
Yeah,
And it's one of the ones where I'm like, no, 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 this is good. It's
yeah.
just this very like sharp, kind of like silhouette almost.
Mm-hmm.
With her
Yeah, well, they have
hair
to
out like
silhouette
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to silhouette it because canonically her description is that she's like a nude woman wearing a veil. Uh, so neat. Ah,
The vengeful banshee.
the vengeful banshee. Oh my god, heaven forbid she have an opinion about something she didn't like. Am I right? Uh, anyway, uh, Mistra is also in the Arcana domain. She's literally the goddess of magic. So that's kind of her thing. She's in the Arcana domain for a reason. Her adventure, very fun, very good. I feel like I can't spoil it too much, but it's understandably about the rules of magic and breaking them. So
Oh,
that's another thing that you get to get
oh,
into when you get into tier 4 play.
my current
Uh,
character that I've been playing is the Devout of Mistra.
ooh, you'd have a good time with the Arcana domain mystery adventure, or maybe a very bad time.
Poor little Mist, the most devout, would die immediately.
Oh my goodness. So excited.
Oh,
Uh
my little kobold twilight cleric. He's
oh,
so adorable.
cute. Good.
Uh,
Um in
life
the
domain, of course, because
life
women are about
domain,
life.
it's true. So we managed to not make the life domain isn't super aggressively overfull because it turns out that life domain is generally a good aligned goddess sort of thing. And with only neutral and evil goddesses, we didn't have that many. So we have the Great Mother, the Beholder goddess, who is the worst thing I say, like praise wise. She's fantastic and also like awful. Her entire realm is her, like flesh and body. So it is the content warnings for that adventure are eyes and teeth. Uh, you have to travel through her realm, which is her body. Uh, so you know, pretty wild. I'm gonna leave it at that. Life Domain also has Luthic, who is I think her Blood Witch is a title of hers. She's the orc goddess of like plagues and also life and war. Uh, just girl things, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
whatever.
yeah, her adventure is very fun. Our writing director Jess Markham wrote that one, and it is a a delight. And definitely, if you are familiar with previous Uncaged volumes, that one is like peak Uncaged in its energy that it brings to the table. Blood Moon Witch, Jess says in chat. um, and the last life domain goddess is the Raven Queen,
The Raven
who's
Queen.
yeah, she's probably one of the ones that people don't really need an introduction for. Definitely one of the more famous ones, but she
That's
is
why I like that the title of it is simply I know her name.
yeah. Well, because that's like a whole thing with the Raven Queen, right? Is that like she has a title, but like her name is like kept secret, along with like her true form and stuff. So that adventure kind of explores like uh who, if anyone, keeps that knowledge and like what that means.
Yeah, the big part
Yeah,
of the Fae. You can't just.
yeah. Oh, we'll get to the Fae. Speaking of Fae, trickery domain. Um, so in the trickery domain, we have Bashaba, the goddess of misfortune. She split off from the goddess of or Taiki into goddesses Bashaba and Timora.
Tamara, and that's when
Yeah.
Lathander lost his shit.
Frickin' Lathander. The Bashaba adventure is very fun and good. I very much like how it explores the lore between like Bashaba's origins and her complicated family life, let's say.
Yeah, anytime things are going too well, she blames her
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah. But there's a lot of really cool mechanics in there, kind of around, dice, which makes sense for an adventure about a goddess of misfortune.
Yes.
So, yeah, we love to see it. We love to have the players rolling dice frequently and then perhaps weighting the results against them because it's tier 4 and they can handle it.
Yes, of course. At level, you're essentially gods,
Yeah,
goddesses.
that's why it's fun. You're not really
Oh,
qualified to directly fistfight them, but
let's
you
see.
can get an awful lot closer than you think you might be able to.
Sony Baloney says Bishaba's curse is a favorite.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah,
Yes.
I won't spoil the details for people because I want them to buy the book, but there is definitely a curse that you can get from Bashaba in that is very correctly flavored for her and for D&D.
So good.
But yeah, the trickery domain also has Lyra, who's a very fun goddess. She is the goddess of like illusions, and
Mm-hmm.
according to the lore, officially she's dead. But she's literally like the trickiest goddess. So taking anything at face value with regard to her being dead seems a little foolish, let's say.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Grady wrote a really fun adventure about kind of like how Lyra might continue to persist despite being killed.
Yeah.
Play the adventure to know more.
I think anyone who believes what she tells you all the time, kind of, you know, you get what's coming to you for
Yeah.
for your naivety.
Imagine having like the goddess of like trickery as your deity as a cleric or something and being like, all right, time to do augury. Like, what do you do with your results? Do you do the opposite of what they tell you? Like anyway,
That's
food
such a
for
good
thought.
thought. Yeah. Do you believe? Is she lying to everyone except you? Do you believe that?
Or does she know that you think that? Like, anyway, also in the trickery domain, we have the Queen of Air and Darkness. Speaking of people without names, the Queen of Air and Darkness is the unseelie equivalent of Titania. So straight up Fae. She is the queen of the evil court of Fae, and was recently demoted, I think, in the Feywild adventure from D&D. She's now
Yes.
an archfey. I do not accept this as canon, and also we started making the book before that came out, so she's a goddess. Fight me. But yeah, her lore is really cool. She took like basically in the lore officially, she got corrupted by the Black Diamond artifact and
Yes.
lost her name and form to time and now just kind of permeates the air of the court. But the adventure in here Lee wrote is definitely more like a hey, what if that was on purpose? Why would that be on purpose? Let's discuss.
Mm-hmm.
So, a very good one. Trickery Domain also has Tiamat, needs no introduction. She's the dragon with 5 heads and guards the second layer of hell, but she used to be more important in hell, and the adventure goes into that.
Yes, she used to be over
Yeah,
that layer of hell.
yeah, yeah.
Don't.
She used to rule the whole thing, and now she guards the elevator to the second level. So, you know,
A
is she
little
happy about that?
demotion.
Probably
No.
not. Yeah.
She's also happy about being banished back there, though. So.
Yeah, that's fair. She's unhappy about a lot of things, and the adventure is a very fun exploration into that. The trickery domain also has our cover goddess Joaquin. She's the goddess of commerce. Why is she in the trickery domain? Who's to say? Probably because she's the goddess of money changing hands. So she is worshipped by both merchants and thieves alike, because as long as a transaction's happening, she's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Joaquin adventure is actually a very fun one that looks into kind of, I want to say, deconstructs capitalism a bit. That's not like the point of this anthology, but it definitely gets into that. You kind of have to with the goddess of commerce. She's neutral, and understandably, the adventure has a lot to say about like the concepts of money changing hands, or what happens when it doesn't. Like perhaps it stays too much with some people.
Which is
Uh
everything the opposite of the first time I encountered Joaquin as a goddess.
huh.
When my friend played a cleric by the name of Bilo Selhai, in order to, obtain any services from Bilo Selhai, even if it was just casting a spell in battle to help us not die, coin would have to change hands.
Good.
Like,
Be
oh,
paid.
we brought our capitalist cleric.
Good. You have to be paid fairly for your labor.
It's not in the middle of battle, though, Bilo.
That's fun. Yeah, so Joaquin's definitely a fun one, and a very good choice for a cover, if I do say so myself. She's
Yes.
like, yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with deity in bright gold on your book cover. But also
And
we were like,
just like
oh,
the
if we
gold on
choose
her
Joaquin for our
skin.
book, maybe the goddess of capitalism will bless our book. And seems like it's been going well so far.
Yeah, you've almost overtaken the Fae book that dropped right before yours. So
Yeah. Um, yeah. Then the last section is Beyond Faerun. So that is the section that has the Fury from Eberron, also has Mother Night from Ravenloft, and Farrakha from Theros. So the Fury, the Eberonian deities are interesting because in Eberron they're a lot looser. They kind of only exist as like vague concepts in the world and sort of influences. So it was interesting to like take something so vague and turn it into, you know, like enough of a fleshed out like person that she can be in an adventure. Um, and I think like the end result is a really interesting, compelling adventure that still is true to kind of the way Eberron approaches deities, but doesn't jar with the rest of the book. Like you definitely feel like you're getting your quota of, yeah, I have interacted with a goddess. Um, so I love that. The Ravenloft one, Mother Night, is uh perhaps predictably, uh, you know, the goddess of like hags and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, she's very her whole deal is here, I'll give you the tools to solve your own problems, which usually means turning you into a hag.
is
So I
that
love her.
that doesn't solve your problems? I'm confused. What's the
Yeah,
issue?
like I gave you all the tools you need. Now it's on you. Um, and then the last one is Farrakha from Theros, which people might be more familiar with because the Theros book did just come out decently recently. But she's the goddess of um, also plagues, sometimes like medicine and also disease.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
yeah.
that's a good
So
yeah.
both sides of that.
Equally likely to heal your village in her knowledge for how does everything work as
Hmm.
she is to accidentally kill you all. It's fine.
Yeah. Um, which definitely ties into her adventure.
Yes.
But yeah, those are all the goddesses we have in the book, or at least a brief overview of all of them.
Okay, so Theros recently, I've been informed, which I thought was maybe a year ago, was almost 2 years ago now.
No! Why would you say this to me?
Why would you say this to all of us? Why? Oh
Greedy.
goodness. Um, yes. So we briefly touched on all of the beautiful artwork for the goddesses themselves. But I want to talk a little bit about, some artwork that might be lesser recognized. And if I can
Mm-hmm.
click it all on the right screen, I can get it up while you're talking about it. So the layout stuff. I've got up first the Winter's Morning one, and I'm gonna shrink
Yeah.
that because wow, that's way too big. All right, you talk. I'll fix.
So the layout is incredible and done exclusively by David Markuski, my co-producer for this project. He's incredible. And he did so much for this book. In addition to the layout, but specifically as far as the layout's concerned, he made custom borders as well as custom illustrations for every single goddess. So there are 21 different borders because each goddess gets their own like layout border. So you can see like on the Aureel, I don't know if that's the one you pulled up. I have
Yeah,
right.
it
Cool.
is. I've
Yeah.
got
So
it.
you can see that the like the Aureel border has icicles. That's the word. I was like ice stalagmites. Uh, um icicles to kind of fit Aureel's theming, and every single goddess has their own border that fits like their whole deal and also coordinates very beautifully with their full page illustration. It's incredible. He also obviously did a bunch of like ornate little filigree things to like put behind the spot art, to put around the box text. The borders along the pages that don't have those like big goddess borders are still like very beautiful and ornate and go along with the borders that are on the cover illustration, just to tie everything together. So incredible job. It looks so professional and beautiful. I love it. I also love that if you look at the book from the sides, you can see like which adventures there are because the colors change, because the different border illustrations like change color for different
Yes.
goddesses.
All
So
right.
it is really, really cool to look at the physical book and be able to see like those bands of color for where the different adventures are. It does not help me in finding them because there's 21 of them and I can't remember the specific details about like which shade of blue some of the goddesses are, but it's very pretty.
It is. And I've switched to the Blessings of the Night one so that everyone can see like the differences there. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously stylistically there's a lot similar because doing an entirely different layout for everyone is a lot of work. But it's different enough to really invoke like that theme. And it's just
Mhm.
love it so much. All
Yeah.
right. I've got all the rest of the art too from the press kit if there were any others that you wanted to spotlight. So,
Oh man.
Lusic, Joaquin,
Yeah.
Joaquin's Temple. Sorry.
Yeah. That's a piece of spot art. So like that's not even the full page illustration. That is a piece of spot art that our artist was just like, oh yeah, as my bonus extra piece I'm doing for this anthology, I'm just going to do a crowd scene in a crowded interior environment with heavy architectural details in perspective. Like what? Uh, this book was made by so many incredible people. So many of them. David and I were going through all the pitches, all the artist submissions, all the editor applications, and just talking to each other and being like, "Are they lost? Do they know? Like, what? This is not like an official Wizards thing. Like, do they? They're too overqualified. They're never going to say yes. I know they applied to our project, but it's because they didn't understand. But they did understand, and they contributed. I'm sorry, I hit my microphone. I think
You're
they
fine.
did understand, and they contributed, and they made amazing things for it. And I am so grateful that so many people, so many incredibly hardworking, talented, gifted, wonderful, amazing, insert gif of Lady Gaga here, people worked on this book. Um, I don't know why everyone like showed up for it, but I'm so happy.
Oh, I don't know why this one was so much smaller. Sorry, everyone. Let me bring Tiamat up bigger.
Oh no.
I was just kind of flipping through them as you talk, just so everyone can get an idea of like, look, these are just some of the pieces in here, and
Mm-hmm.
just like she's saying though, like these artists, like they went hard.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, why are these all different sizes? I don't know.
Oh goodness.
That's okay. It's actually just the one so far that's the wrong size, but it was,
Oh no.
naturally messing everything else up.
I see
Ah,
just Char overtakes the screen. Yeah, that's my
yeah,
girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Disrespected by everyone except me.
So good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ange killed it. Oh my god. That art I think has like 4,000 likes on Twitter and it is like 10% of what it deserves. It's so good.
it's just everything, all of it. I just
Mm-hmm.
love it. All right, and then last but certainly not least, let's get your girl the cover in there. I gotta shrink this too. Sorry, everything's
Oh
different
goodness.
size. I wasn't prepared. I'm never prepared.
Uh,
But look at Joaquin.
uh yeah, I had a lot of fun making that cover. It was definitely a lot of work. But it was nice to be able to do. I do like doing really heavily detailed pieces, and filigree is a really good excuse to put just a ton of detail in there.
Yeah, and
But
this is totally like screaming like the cover of Vogue. So
thank you.
exactly.
That is for sure what I was going for. Uh, I
Gosh.
drew her bigger, and then David kept shrinking her down because he was like, people need to actually be able to read the title, and I was like, no, they don't. Uh, they do. He
You
was right.
know, much like many of the other things, you just know that it's there. Like
Yeah,
what is it?
that works
People
better.
People magazine?
Yeah. Oh my god. Like people or time or whatever can get away with it. I don't know if Uncaged is quite at the point where it can get away with that yet.
People do still need to know what it is they're buying.
Yeah. So he was right as always, but yeah.
So good. So good. Oh, so much of this art is so good. And, that's just like the artwork and the artists themselves. The adventures are great too. And so we want to talk a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about, the fact that they are all tier 4 adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like, it's not a big deal, really, everybody. Truly.
Yeah. Tier 4 is fun, and not scary is what I will say about that. So part of the fun of making this book is that it was exclusively tier 4 adventures, which there's a dearth of content for. Tier 4 is a great time, and I want to be able to play in it more, but the content just like isn't there. So now we've made some.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely an air of like mystery around tier 4 because there's very little content for it that makes people hear it and just go, oh, it's too much, I could never, like, I hear it's so complicated to run, or like it's so hard to keep track of everything, or like
So
your
I'm just
characters have
not
access.
gonna, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna try because it'll just be
Yeah,
too daunting.
yeah, like your characters have access to wish, that means they'll break anything. Like, no, 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 first off,
You're still the DM.
characters, yeah, you're still the DM, first off. Second of all, like, the point of tier 4 is to just go for it. Your players have earned this after playing levels 1 through 16 of a campaign. Now's their time to shine. And I love tier 4 because it can get so, like, the scope of it can get so big, but also so, like, different from anything else. Like, when you
Yes.
are a tier 4 character, you don't have to stay on the material plane. You probably won't. Most of these adventures don't keep you on the material plane because you're finally at the point where you're powerful enough to go to all the other places in the multiverse. And that's really cool. Like, there's no other opportunity for people to be able to play with the lore as directly as in tier 4. You can hear about all these other planes and you're like, wow, elemental plane of fire, that sounds neat. I'm level 4, so I would burn up on impact. But once you're level 17, you're
You're
fine.
literally a planeswalker, and it's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah.
You
So
know, some people might not want to planeswalk because you got, you personally couldn't get back from there, but
yeah, it's fine. But yeah, so like part of the fun of tier 4 is being able to really just let loose and go for it.
hmm
But obviously, like, we wanted to be able to make sure that people were comfortable jumping into it, because saying, hey, book full of tier 4 adventures, when people are like, tier 4 scary, like, you want to be able to help people get into it. So to help with that, Jess, our writing director, put together a guide to running tier 4 for DMs that is very sweet, very thoughtful, and definitely pretty much just, hey, let them have fun, let them do their cool stuff, let them cast wish, they've earned this, and you'll have a good time. um which is true.
Yeah, and some has pointed out too that the book has such a deep look at how the adventurers can interact with the goddesses. So,
Mhm.
it gives them the confidence to run games and include these gods and goddesses. So otherwise,
Yeah.
let's just hit my microphone too. Otherwise, you'd be like, I don't know, what would the goddess say?
Yeah, well, you'll find out when you start talking to her. Uh, but yeah, the other thing we did was to make sure that, players could jump in and enjoy it without having to try and min max a level 17 character. Like, we have pre-gens in the book. We have 4 printed in the book. We have 8 total available, like, when you purchase the book in any format on DM's Guild, that are just meant to, like, help you get into it. So you don't have to spend time building out that character. You can just jump in and have fun. Obviously, you want to spend like a 30 minutes or whatever, like, reading all your abilities, but like, the characters are pretty straightforward, and we've really done our best to make sure that the characters aren't overcomplicated for tier 4. That we've organized the information. Yeah, we've organized the information in a way that's like helpful. So it's laid out as stat blocks and notes, so that when you're actually in a combat, you can look at the stat block portion of it and be like, here's all my relevant numbers. Here's a list of actions I can do that are unique to me. Here's my bonus actions. Here's a list of my spells, all of that. And you have all that information available to you in a format that makes sense and is conducive to, like, having a good time, because that's what matters. Um, from a DM side, tier 4 is a chance to throw literally anything at your players because they can take it, uh, and you'll have a good time.
And you
And
can
from the
make
player
stuff
side,
up.
yeah, you can make stuff up, and change it around to suit your table, because every table at tier 4 is so different that you can't one size fits all it, which is why so many of these adventures come with, like, recommendations for how to adjust for your table, because, like, uh the authors here are smart, and they understood that, like, they're here to help facilitate you having a good time at your table. They've designed the adventures to make sure you, the DM, can have a good time at your table with your players in a way that's accessible, that's easy to run, and is meant to be like a holistic tier 4 experience, but it's also, like, enjoyable and bite size and just a fun time for everyone.
So
For
bite
the
size.
players,
So do they have expected runtimes for any of the adventures, or
so it depends on the adventure, but we did have a word limit on these. That's 3,500 words, which is, if you're familiar with word counts for
not
D&D
very
adventures,
many?
that's short. So they are one shots. I would expect that for most of these, they would take 6 to 8 hours to finish. Um, so depending on your table, that could be one session, that could be 3 or 4. If you're anything like my Pathfinder game, that is one session with a couple hours for debriefing. Because, but yeah, the the adventures are definitely meant to not overstay their welcome,
Mhm.
let's say.
Yeah, and
Which is
with the
good
word
because
count that small, that's definitely gonna, I mean, by
yeah, despite the fact that the word count is small, they definitely are like robust adventures. The authors did a really good job fitting so much in here, despite being very willing to cooperate with the word count. I definitely uh, understand all of the author's pain, and I'm glad that they were able to make all the things they wanted fit. We had to would trim many a beautiful read aloud text, which was very tragic, but for the benefit of the book's page count, because it is still 300 pages long. It would have been
yeah.
so much worse if we hadn't had the word count.
Yeah. Everyone who had that happen to them, I know your pain. I feel your pain, and I'm here with you, okay? That's
Mhm.
it. That's the best I can offer. Oh, one of my
Yeah.
recent adventures, I got it back, and they were literally like, trim half the words, and I'm like,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, we had a lot of really, really wonderful editors on this project too. But in the interest of saving their sanity, we made sure they knew upfront, like, hey, if the author has sent you something that is significantly over the word count, just send it straight back. Tell them to fix it, because uh, our poor our poor editors did such a good job making this book amazing. But it's a lot to ask somebody to hand them like something that's twice the length it needs to be, and being like, hey, can you help me just trim this down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very easy.
No. Uh, but I saw in chat a thing that I wanted to say and got sidetracked from. But
Yes.
Tier 4 from a player perspective is awesome. It is so fun to feel powerful and to actually get to use the freaking capstone things that you see in the player's handbook. And you're like, well, that's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to be a druid with unlimited shape changes. You can. You can. She's in the book. Uh, you can play that character. Um, and you can just, have a good time actually using the things that Wizards of the Coast made for people to use. Uh, they're there for a reason, and they are so much fun.
Yes.
I strongly encourage everyone to play a tier 4 like level 20 character. Just go all out. It is a great time feeling like you are like a demigod at that point.
And you've got
Um,
21 now, so you've got basically
yeah.
you could basically do one every 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
well, you could do one every 2 weeks for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
At this point.
What is time? Uh, but yeah, and then just to keep players humble, they get access to their level 20 capstones. But then we also have many stat blocks that go all the way up to CR 30 in this book. So
Woo!
you're very powerful, but you can't win every fight.
No, no. Even at level 20, some things you should definitely bring your whole crew for, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
their crews.
Yeah, level 20, but also there's like 15 of you. Is probably the way to tackle some of these fights.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are intense,
Yeah,
but
and
like in
that's
a
just the
good
ones.
way.
Oh yeah, and that's just the ones with stat blocks. Like the authors, I think all did a really good job with kind of towing that line between like you're interacting with a literal goddess, often in her domain, and also you still want the players to be able to do stuff and have fun. So you have to find that balance between like you can't do this because I said so, and I'm a god, versus the goddess needs to be powerful enough that the players can't just do whatever they want. But these adventures have been like written, edited, play tested so that players find that balance and DMs have that balance ready to go for them in the adventures to make sure that everyone feels like powerful, but also like they are punching a weight class above what they should be.
Yes, powerful, but not, you know,
Yeah, there's a reason
im-
you
im-
don't have worshippers.
you're not the god. Yes, that's
Mhm.
that's a great way to put it.
You can't grant cleric domain powers. Maybe if you play all 21 adventures in the book, I feel like if a player finishes all 21 adventures in the book, the DM should grant them the option of being able to grant other creatures warlock powers.
I mean, technically, almost anyone can be a warlock patron. You
It's
just
true.
might not be able to give your followers anything worth them following you yet.
All right. You can give warlock powers up to like level 12 or something.
Apparently, you're giving spoilers for the Thriftlings.
I'm not giving spoilers. I'm just saying after playing all of these adventures, I should be able to ascend to demigodhood. Jess,
Yeah, just.
it should be an option available to me.
I'm not gonna argue with that. I feel like that's fair. I feel like it's
Yeah.
fair.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I was saying it's not super intimidating to do it. So, definitely, become the DM, get your DM, find a new DM. I don't know, whatever it is that you need to do. To have a person and you, or you and some
Mhm.
people at a table playing this.
Yeah,
Um,
especially for 5e. Like 5e is a very well designed game that is streamlined for a reason.
yes.
It is much more accessible to jump into the higher levels than I think a lot of people remember how complicated it was to play like a tier 4 3.5 game
Oh
or
yeah.
Pathfinder 1 game.
You can
And like,
jump right in. I've
yeah.
created a level 20 to play James and Tricasso's Planet of the Tarrasques.
Mhm.
And, like I said, take 10 minutes or so, be like, oh, those are what those abilities that I've never ever gotten to use in my life do.
Yeah.
Got it. And then you're
Enjoy that.
great.
Yeah, enjoy that fourth fighter attack. You've earned it.
I was a sorcerer, which is a poor choice in hindsight.
Oh no.
As everyone knows, or potentially learns right now, Tarrasques have anti-magic
Mhm.
carapaces.
Yeah.
Yep. Eh.
Fortunately, one of our pregens is a fighter. So one of them doesn't need magic.
Right. Oh, well, but yeah, you could just jump right in. I picked up a sorcerer just out of nowhere. It's fine.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't for a convention though.
Oof.
So yeah. But that's one thing that you did mention that these are meant to be like 6 to 8 hours. So like this is something even that someone could conceivably take, tweak it a little bit and throw it on the schedule to run at a convention. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
I think
if you want to have people lining up being like, I want to kill Umberly, be like,
uh
first off, good luck. Second off, here's where
yeah.
you sign up.
Yeah, good luck. I don't know if Umberly's one of the ones with a stat block off the top of my head, but I do know that successfully killing any of these deities permanently is, let's say, I'm gonna go so far as to say impossible. They're gods. But
Highly unlikely. Yeah, Umberly does
there
not have
are
a
a
stat
lot of
block.
avatars you can attempt to fight, is what I'll say. But yeah, the book is definitely not like adventurers legal. I don't know the specific rules around like
No, no, no.
convention play.
Well, so
Uh,
most conventions, anybody can submit whatever they want to run it
mm,
independently. Like I could
mhm.
just be like, I wrote a thing yesterday, and it's kind of like D&D, but I kind of crossed it with this other thing, and I'm just gonna put it on the schedule to see if anybody wants to sit down. Um,
Nice.
I, somebody probably would. And then I would be like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do now? But yeah, so you wouldn't be able to run it adventurously, but you could just, and people would think that was awesome. Um,
Yeah, that would be a very fun day to spend. Just like have an all day D&D game and go fight some gods. Because I will say there are a lot of goddesses in this book that you are perhaps narratively discouraged from fighting, but there are a lot of other gods in this book, and you are not narratively discouraged from fighting them.
they have stat blocks and everything.
They've got stat blocks and everything. Because yeah, when you start getting into like the trials and tribulations of a deity, often other deities are involved. So we feature 21 neutral and evil goddesses, but the full number of divine beings in the book is much bigger than that.
Little higher than that,
Yeah, and
yeah.
many of them have very punchable faces.
God. I haven't read the whole thing, so but if Lathander's face is in here, oh god,
He's got what's coming to him.
he
Yeah.
really does. He tried to force Timora and Bashaba to merge
Mm-hmm.
twice.
Rude.
He
Yeah, if you want a punchable god, definitely check out the mystery adventure that Sadie and Amber wrote.
Yes.
Talos is in there.
Apparently Talos. Yeah. We're gonna punch
Mhm.
Talos in the face too. I'm down.
Yep.
Um. Gosh, there's actually just so many of the male presenting deities that really just need a good punch in the face.
I think most of them would benefit from a good punch in the face every now and then. I just think, it brings humility and perspective. And that's really the takeaway from Uncaged Goddesses is that you know, a lot of these evil goddesses are still doing awful things.
Grumsh. Yeah, Grumsh.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Grumsh is great. No, wait, bad? I forget which one's which. Grumbar is the good one. Jess is in chat. She'll correct me.
Yeah, she says Grumsh are especially punchable.
There you go. Yeah, Grumsh can be punched.
Grumbar
Grumbar
good.
Grumbar good. Grumbar's great. The Luthic adventure features both of those gods in addition to, you know, Luthic. And Grumbar is a sweetheart, and that's nice.
Yes. Some of the gods are really
Mhm.
just like, would you like to have tea with me?
Yeah. Admittedly, we don't have many of the would you like to have tea deities in the book aside from Grumbar.
Well, you know, they don't generally hang around. They're
Yeah, they're not
oppositely
super
aligned
yeah,
counterparts.
they're not super likely to just be like, you know who I'm going to hang out with today is the Great Mother, the Beholder goddess, who is made of eyes and teeth.
Just teeth and
Yeah.
eyes.
Yep.
Eyes inside of teeth. Teeth inside of
Yeah.
eyes, which is worse?
Yeah, I don't know. My
Anyway,
camera unfocused as my brain was transported thinking about this.
I know that. You know, that's a good point. Let's just leave it on teeth and eyes or eyes and teeth because we are at the end of our time.
On that.
On that note, everybody. Gwen, I want to thank you so much again for being on
Yeah,
the show
thank you.
tonight and talking about Uncaged Goddesses. This has been an absolute delight. Let me drop the link again for anyone who hasn't picked it up yet or who has just decided that they need to pick it up for a third time.
Yeah, we hit copper bestseller in 50 minutes. We hit silver bestseller in under 3 hours. We hit electrum in under 12 hours. If you buy your copy now, we can hit our goal of hitting gold before we've been out for a week. So, thanks.
Yeah. And if you do it now, I don't know if you're ever gonna change it. If you do it now, anyways, if you buy the hardcover, you can get the PDF for free currently, unless that's just
Yeah.
showing online. Yeah.
Nope, that is the case. If you get the hardcover, you get the PDF for free because it is nice to have a massive tome, but sometimes you want a printer friendly thing.
Yes.
So we got you covered.
I'm gonna get my. I'm wait. I don't know. It was at the beginning of it. Somebody else got very excited because they had an "it has just shipped" notice. Now I feel like I need to check my email. Has mine shipped?
Yeah. People have been starting to get those your print order was shipped emails today. So keep an eye out.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'll be waiting on mine.
Aw.
But yeah. Where can everyone find you online if they want to check out the rest of your stuff or talk to you more about Uncaged?
Yeah, so you can definitely find me on Twitter at GwenDB. I am also elsewhere on the internet at GwenDB, but Twitter's the one that I actually look at, so that would be the one to check. I'm also Friday nights. I am on a live stream show called Three Flings. It is on twitch.tv/angry nerd girl. We are playing through every adventure of the Uncaged anthology, including every adventure of goddesses. We just finished part 1 of episode 2, Char's adventure. So if you want to hear me talk about Char more and how she is the best goddess and also the most disrespected goddess, tune in Fridays. And I've got plenty more to say about her. I have the wiki page memorized. I'm ready. But yeah, otherwise, outside of Uncaged Goddesses stuff, I do mostly post illustrations and art because I am an illustrator first and foremost. So if you like pretty pictures, find me on Twitter.
Yeah, and if you missed earlier episodes of Three Flings, they're all on YouTube. Thanks, chat.
Yeah.
I just got the link for the Angry Nerd Girl channel, which I apparently typed Angry Nerd Girl all in caps because it is that important.
Yeah, that angry.
Yes. But yeah, definitely check all of those things out. Are you playing through this weekly or bi-weekly?
It is a weekly show.
All right.
So yeah.
So it'll be, you know, for those of you who want to watch it all at once and binge, it'll be done before you know it.
Yeah. Well, we did the math. It'll be done by the end of the year, probably.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, by the end of the year. Every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Yes, perfect. Alrighty then. Well, as always, everyone, you can find me all over the internet at Jenny Loveday, even on YouTube. You can find me at my website, jennyloveday.com. I have some adventures coming out soon as well on the DM's Guild. My Ravenloft Mist Hunters, Epic 2, the Dark Lord Denouement. Um, yeah, I learned how to pronounce that recently too.
It's very fancy.
Comes out soon. I don't know the actual date, but it's soon. And then shortly behind that, which could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, my Dreams of the Red Wizards Epic 4 comes out. I did the Ravenloft one with Jeremy Forbing and the Red Wizards one with Andy Demps. So both of those are super exciting, and they let us do weird stuff. Which the second one is tier 3 and 4. So we went to the far. Nope. No, by the time you get to that, you'll know we went to the far realm and we got weird.
Nice.
I was so excited.
That's what tier 4 is good for.
And then Ravenloft, it's all in your head, and that's a very weird place. So, that's that. Aside from that, I've got some other stuff coming out soon that I don't have my calendar for that in front of me. So, maybe I'll explain that one next week. We'll see. But speaking of next week, I have some very exciting content lined up. Next week, I am actually going to do a double feature, I think. I'm going to air a show and then do a live show directly after it because I double booked my calendar dates on when I told people I was airing stuff, so I'm just going to air them both. It's fine. But we're going to be talking about the new Dark Souls TTRPG that's coming out from Steamforged Games, and then I'm talking with Keith Ammon, who is generally known as the author of The Monsters Know What They're Doing. Very entertaining series. Then I've got some other stuff lined up for the month of March, and I will be at GaryCon if any of you are there. So, yeah, you're not going to be at GaryCon, are you?
I don't think so.
I feel like you would know by now. It's in less than a month.
Yeah, not GaryCon. I cautiously optimistic about Gen Con for me personally and also for Uncaged Goddesses stuff. So I guess stay tuned on Twitter for however that's gonna shake out.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So yeah, that is it for this episode of the Designer's Den. Until next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye.